Alright, so today I'm going to show you how to install multiple ISOs into your USB drive. So you can go to your friend's house and according to their requirement to install different operating system from only one USB drive. So first you will need two files, that will be the link in the description. So those two are the easy to boot and also the RMPrepUSB. So you can install it or you can have a runnable ones. So now let's go on to the easy to boot. Now let's go on to the make E2B USB drive, run as administrator. So right click, run as admin. Alright, now let's identify which drive you have. So mine, I have a SanDisk, the drive number 3. So now let's type 3, press enter. So are you sure you want to format it? So back up everything in there before you format this, because your file will get lost and I don't want to take any responsibility for it. Now let's press yes and okay. So let's format as NTFS because Windows 10 is more than 4 GB, so you want to compatible with everything in there. So NTFS, press N and press enter, and then press OK. My antivirus is the worst thing on earth. Let's just quit that. And I think my antivirus will prompt this to an error and end up failing. So let's close your antivirus for now. Yeah, some antivirus program will cause this phase to fail, so be aware to close your antivirus. So this will take a while. It's going to copy some files in there. So in the meantime, you want to go to your install RMPrepUSB. So go in there and install this. It's going to prompt like the ordinary installer. So after install, you will get this icon. So this icon is that you can open this, and then this is what they have. Okay. So this one is to turn a part of your hard disk into a RAM disk, so you can test out your USB in there. But this is just an emulation. It will run much slower than what it is when you reboot a system BIOS into your USB. So this time it's going to test using this emulator, and then after that you will be able to boot into a USB and testing out your manuals. So this is just a manual to display all your ISOs, and after that you can make the drive contagious. Drive and make drive contagious. So this one's very important. You will split the file into smaller pieces, so the E2B drive will be able to boot it faster. Instead of using RMPrepUSB, you can also use the VirtualBox from Oracle to do this. I will show you later how to use the Oracle VirtualBox. But that one is the same. It will only boot into a manual, but when it boots into your installer, it will give you an error and it's not going to install it for you. So the only way to test out if it's truly working is to boot into a USB drive from the BIOS. But inside here, everything we need is just to test out if the easy to boot menu is working or not. And you can also change your background and all those stuff. I will show you later also. Now let's take a while to copy this. Because I have a USB 2.0, so it's going to be a little slower. But let's go on to the Oracle website and then just download the VirtualBox for now. So search for VirtualBox and you will have a downloaded Oracle VM. Now you want to choose it for the Windows platform package. So you just download the first one. So download your Windows version and install this. Next and next. Create a shortcut on desktop and next. Yes, install. install driver. Okay, I don't want to start it. So for now, let's wait for this. Okay. Alright, now it's almost finished. Now let's go on to which language do we want to choose from. So I'm going to use English for US. So press 4, enter. And then, do you want the file extension? Yes, we want the file extension. So do you want to write the config file? Yes, want to write it. So if this turns green, then you know that it is done. So enter, it will be closed. And now let's go on to your drive. So this drive will be turned into a special symbol. Now let's go in there, and inside the ISO, you will have a list of what you can put it in there. So you can put into a Windows, and it will have all the Windows version, Windows 7, 8, 8.1, 10, 8.1 and 8 will be in the same folder, and Windows 10 or Extreme Programming, short for XP, Vista, and all those stuff. And you also have Linux. You can put every Linux distribution in here. It will not be distinguishable inside any folders. So, yeah, let's take a Linux in there. Let's get a small one. Ubuntu server, looks good. So now it's going to copy this, and it's gonna take a while. So inside your VirtualBox, if you want to boot it from USB, you'll have to go into your computer, go on to your manage, and inside storage, disk management. So after that, you are going to look for your drive. So disk 3, that's your E2B drive. So you have the Oracle installed. Now let's go on to CMD, right click, run as administrator. Now you have this. Now let's CD to your VirtualBox. So let's type the following: CD %, program files %, or cool. Oh, this should be backward slash, not forward slash. And VirtualBox. Now if you now you will prompt into this, and now let's type the following in there. So VBox manage internal commands create raw vmdk file name C. So you will need an administrator privilege for this. So vmdk raw disk to backward slash dot backward slash physical drive number. So I have drive number 3, so press 3. Now let's press enter. Manage, I spelled manage wrong. And also create wrong. Okay, so after this is done, it's not going to prompt anything. So now I have this installed. Let's go on to our file explorer, go to your C, and you will see this USB.vmdk drive. So if you have this, then this is good. Let's close this, close this. So you have this. Every time you make a change inside your drive, you have to make the drive contagious. So let's go open your RMPrepUSB. Let's select your drive number 3. In the drive, make all files on drive contagious. Okay, so drive G, so make sure your drive is G, so press yes. And it's going to take a while. So okay, all file on drive G are contagious. In drive G, so you can test using the emulator. So let's test this. So using exist image, so create a MB. Let's create it with 1000. It should be good. Let's click OK. OK. So now it's going to boot into your drive. This one is going to be extremely slow because it's using the hard disk is a RAM disk. So hard drive is slower than your RAM, and it's going to load up everything slower. So yeah, everything's pop up extremely slow. So if you're having to boot from the BIOS, it's going to be a lot faster. Taking forever. Alright, now you have this. You can click in there and go into Linux menu, press enter, and it's going to scan again. Yeah, it's recognized the Ubuntu server ISO. You will be boot into that. So when you have this, you can press enter and it will start installing. So that is a good way to know that your ISO is working and is recognized by the E2B drive. So press the left Control and Alt. You will be quitting out from this menu. So you can drag this around. If you click in there, you cannot move your mouse. So left Control plus Alt. You can close this. Okay, so now let's close this also. Now I will show you how to change your wallpaper because the background is kind of ugly. So now let's choose a wallpaper. I'm just going to Google this. So I'm also going to suggest a website called the alphacoder.com. So this one's having all the wallpaper that's like in high definition. Some of them are 1080p, some of them are 4K, and rarely they are less than 4K. So let's choose this one. I love cartoons so much. I mean anime. So let's close this. Let's go on to your Photoshop. I also need to look up the dimension for the what's it called? The background. So I have it in there. So go on to properties, detail. So it have to be 800 by 600. So that's a standard. What's it called? The standard dimension that it's going to have for all the background for the E2B drive. All have to be 800 by 600. So get that out of the way. In your Photoshop, Files, New, and then click on Custom, and then put this into pixels. So 800 by 600. So leave everything else. Okay. Now in here you have this, and now you can drag your image into here. So if this one is having those white backgrounds, you can press Shift and then drag one side. It's going to be scale with proportions. So if you have the CC or better, you can have this vertical line. That means this one's exactly at dead center. So this one should be in the center also. So press enter. So this one, the image will be fine for now. Now, as you can see before, I think you can see, like in my background, they're having this black box. So this black box is having all the selection in here. So this is the background, and you have a word in here. So this word is have to be something like within the box. So every time I'm having a box around whatever the text is in there. So I'm going to put that box in there too. So right here I don't have the dimension for the box, so I will upload a template. So this one, drag it in there, is the exact length and height. So this one, select this image, and then there's a opacity. Now let's turn down opacity, because you will know that this black box is still visible, and then you can also see your background. So click on your image for your desired background. Now let's zoom in, press the Alt and then your scrolling wheel to zoom in and out. Now let's go use the rectangular marquee tools, and then let's select this exact box as precise as possible. So now let's select the entire box. Now let's deselect my template, so you will have this box in here. So inside this box, right click, so just eraser. So press the eraser button and then click on the image. Then the object must be resized before proceeding. OK. So now let's go on to our marquee tools again. Right click and then fill. And then now let's using black, and then opacity turn it to 50. I think I used 50. And then preserve transparency. OK. So now you are having this black box. Now let's deselect this. So this box is the exact box that all the text is going to appear in. So now let's save this. I'm just saving it to my desktop. Going on to my desktop, and then be sure to save it as a bitmap, not the JPEG or PNG. So that's not going to work. So bitmap, I'm going to, oh my god, where is it? Bitmap. I'm blind, so yeah. Give me a couple minutes to figure it out. And BMP here. So let's just name this to be untitled for now. I will show you the exact naming later. So save this. So Windows 32-bit. Okay. Leave everything else default. So now you have this. So this is the image, the background image. So now what you have is for all the actually I don't have my naming, so that will be okay. I've get my USB drive. So where is it? Right here. I'm going to get my USB drive and just demonstrate you what the naming scheme are. It's not that difficult for the Linux and all the other ones, but for the Windows it's going to be a lot different. So for Linux, you go into your do I have a file in Linux? Okay. So for Windows backgrounds, when you boot into a Windows, you are going to have a different background for every single version of Windows. So for Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows Menu. Windows Menu is the ones that's using for default when you go into your menu. So you will first go into your E2B menu, that's the My Background menu, and then you are going to the Windows menu, and inside my Windows menu you are going to choose which version of Windows you want, and then you are prompted to a special version of Windows that you are going to have another background for. So if you do not have the Windows 7 or Windows 8, you are just using the default Windows menu for now. So now, and then the Windows Server 2012. And for Linux, you go into Linux, or I'm going to go into my test drive, ISOs, go into my Linux. Now if you want to have a custom path for your background, so you can right click, new folder, and then press the money sign 4 times, and then config. So inside there is just an empty folder, so click in there, create a new file, text file, and then what file name is the config.mnu. So you be sure to enable your file extension and then having this config.mnu. So okay, change this and then edit it. You have to open with Notepad, and then inside the Notepad you're going to specify where you do want the background to be. So I have made some mistakes. So what you actually want to do is to cut this and go into a Linux and then paste it in here. So let me redefine this. So this one, the splash image at home.background, so the home is inside this folder. So this is the home folder, and inside here you have a background.bmp image. So now let's close this, and then you know that this config will point into this image only. So now let's close out everything. And inside your Oracle, now let's go on to run as administrator, because you have to run it. I tested out and remove this. So click on new. So if you have a expert mode, go on, click on expert mode. Now let's go on to name this USB. And inside here, use an existing virtual hard disk image. Now let's point into your USB VMDK, the one that you created with the CMD before. Now let's open this. Now create, because you have to use the administrator privilege, otherwise this will going to be give you an error. Create. So after this one's created, now let's go on start this. So this is going to boot into your USB. It's gonna take a while. So now you have load into your E2B drive. Now let's go to Linux. So now you will display your background image. So this is the way that you want to do it for Linux and all the other files instead of the Windows file. So Windows file is going to be a little bit different. So now I will going to exit this. I forgot the proper way to exit this, but there's gotta be a proper way. I'm using the Alt Control plus Delete. That will go on to your rescue mode, I think. That's what they call it, or other thing. I don't even know. Now let's close this. So for Windows, it's going to be a little bit different. So for Windows, when you go back in here, we have Windows. So the Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, or server. All those, you're going to have to create a file and then rename it and put into your root folder. That's the ISO folder. So like the one that I have in here. So inside here I have the Windows 7 all caps .bmp, Windows 8 .bmp. So if I want to copy out this and then paste it in here, you have to paste it inside your ISO folder, not inside your Windows folder, and not inside your whatever this is. This is not going to work. It's going to be within the root folder of this. And then, as I said it before, my background.bmp, that's your entire background. So if I want to copy this and paste it in here, it will give me the background for the entire entry of my E2B drive. So when I first boot it into, then it will display this image. So after if I want to select Windows 7, it's going to be having this image. So now let's try it again. So first, make the drive contagious. That's very important. Otherwise, it might not work. Yes. Okay, all drives contagious. Nope. You have to run it as administrator, because you're using the file in the C drive, and then you will always need administrator privilege for that. Now let's start this. When you boot into that, it will give you a custom background. So after that, when you go on to, I believe there's no Windows in there. So when you go into Linux, it will give you another background. So every time you want to go back to main menu, you will go on to this image again. You are not going back to the original image. So this one, there's a quick fix for that. And inside your main menu, so just create another file inside your main menu. So your main menu, go in there, config, create a new file, call this. Yes, and then what you want to write in there is using the absolute path. That's the splash image. That's the keyword. And then now go on to your root /ISO / my background. background.bmp. So this one pointing to the exact one that you are showing here. This one, the my background BMP, that's inside your root directory, your ISO directory. So save this, and then close this. This is my new drive. This one's my demonstration drive. So inside your Linux, instead of using home, so home is within this folder, you can also use the forward slash ISO /Linux, and then we're pointing to config / and then inside here pointing to this file. Those two will work exactly the same thing. So this one, or you can use the home, or you can use the home one. Those two will work exactly the same thing. So this one will point towards inside your folder. Now let's try this one last time. So after this, I will going to do a live demonstration of how to boot into your ISOs, and I'm going to show you how to install an operating system. So after this, so capture Linux, it will give me a new background. Let's go back to main menu. It will go back to my original background. So yeah, that's it for the making part. So now let's go on to your live demonstration of how it actually works. Alright, so now you're going to restart the system. It's gonna take a while. And just some errors. So after it restarts, you have to press a key that's according to your motherboard, whatever the key is F10 or F12 or whatever it is, to go into your BIOS settings. So I'm just pressing the F10 or F12 because it's the two that I know on my motherboard. Oops. Nope. Let's restart this. Let's try it again. I'm pressing F12 for now. See if it works. Yeah, so go on to your setup, or you can just boot it from your USB drive. So the result will be the same. So you can just boot from the SanDisk, that's my USB, or you can go into your BIOS and change your boot order. So I'm just going to boot from my USB drive. So now let's go in there. And it's going to load a bunch of files. So just take a while to load. So scan all the ISOs in my USB and it's going to display. Alright, now you're getting into this step, and you know that there are Linux systems and there are Windows. So I'm going to install Windows, and then there are Linux and all those other DOS tools or antivirus there. They can like rescue your system. So I'm not going to go into that. So Windows install menu, let's press enter. Now in here, you can install whatever system you want that's on your USB drive. So I have almost everything because I have a huge amount of space in there. So I'm just going to put everything in there to like avoid to make a new drive every time. So I'm going to install Windows 10 for this machine because Windows 8 I'm getting tired of it, and then it's forcing me to upgrade to Windows 10. So why not just do it? So install Windows 10. Now you can see there are 64-bit or the 32-bit. I'm going to install the 64-bit for English, of course, for all of you guys that are speaking English. I cannot use the Chinese system. So choose a key or use the no key. So I'm going to use the no key. If you have a official key, then use that. So press 1 and then press enter, and it's going to load your ISOs. So it's going to take a while, but there's one thing that you have to remember, that when this pop up, there is one other thing that you have to click on. Okay, so now going to English, and then for the time I'm just going to use Chinese for now because I can display all my Chinese characters using the keyboard, but you don't have to do that if you're having an English system, and then with English on the time and currency, that's not going to matter. and then going to next, and then install. It's gonna take a while. But for Windows 8, there's one thing that you have to remember, that it's going to pop up a command line that's going to show you how to choose. It's like to repair. Yes, like this one. So if it pops this up, then it's going to work. Otherwise, you have to do something else in your USB drive. It's not going to work without this blue screen. So inside here, it's going to give you choices like repair or recover or install. So I'm going to install a Windows. So I'm going to press N and then press enter. So press N and then press enter, and it's going to load up. And then for mine, I can choose between the home or the pro. I'm just choosing the pro, and next. I need to format my drive. I don't even know which one I am having. Going to delete and recover. Delete the system. And I think MSR reserve. I don't even know what that is. And just format my primary drive. So that's the drive that I'm having the SSD for holding my Windows 8 before. So delete this. Okay, so create a new one, apply. Okay, so I just resolved some nasty conversion problem. So I converted from GPT to MBR. So if you have the same problem as you cannot create a new drive, then it's the prompt you to create a drive with the MBR and creation. So you can press Shift plus F10 to bring out the command line, and then now press disk part, and now you will enter the disk part, the tools, and then list disk, and you will list all the disks you have. So inside here, if you know what drive you have, so mine have a 232 gigabytes, so select disk 0 and then press enter, and now it's successfully selected. And then now use clean and then press enter, and then after that use convert MBR, and then it will successfully convert to MBR, and then you can create a new drive from that. So now I have this primary drive, so now let's click next. Then after that it will finish installing, and then I will be back. Alright, so now it's letting me enter the product key. I will enter it later, so do this later. And then use express setting, that's what I usually do. And then going to input this. So I'll be back after this is done. So now it's setting up things. Just wait for a bit. Shouldn't take long because I have an SSD in there. So yeah, just waiting for the general things to set up, and then after that your driver should be done using Microsoft built-in drivers detections, because for my Windows 8.1 it's going to recognize all my hardwares, so it's not going to be a hassle. But for your video card driver, you have to still go to the NVIDIA website and download it yourself, because that's a huge packet and only NVIDIA have it. Microsoft does not have it built in. And rest of them, if your tablet or your what's it called, the sound card does not work, then just Google your sound card brand, and then go in there, find your product key, product name, and then you can search up the drivers yourself. So that's basically it. Install a system is not that hard. It's going to take a bit of studying research if you do not have the proper format for your drive, because I have to convert it from GPT to my MBR. So I showed you that how to do this, so it's not going to be a problem if you're going to install your own system. So that's it. So I basically taught you how to use a multi-OS
disk drive to a USB thumb drive, and then you're going to install all of the system into one USB, and you can boot into any of the install ISOs without any problems. So that's it. So Linux will be coming soon, and I'll be finish up my Java tutorial before going to the next tutorial. But yeah, stay tuned for more of videos like this. I love doing OS installations and also the server side setups. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. Until then, stay active, be happy, and play algorithms.